love it. And I love that he's talking about Brew and Owen and interactions with Obi-Wan. They had to have had interactions.
Yeah, I like how he said, show the handoff between them
Yeah.
and Obi-Wan explaining the situation. How would you
Yeah.
explain that situation?
Yeah, Luke, what do you like that Brent's throwing down? I mean, I hadn't even really thought about him sitting down, with the Lars family and giving them a little background as to what's happening. Or is he going to tell them much other than, like, this is, your family and you need to raise this child now? What should we expect in those interactions and anything else Brent said?
Yeah, I think that's really fun stuff to play with creatively. Is how do we get to the point in episode 4 where Uncle Owen is, quite dismissive of Obi-Wan, old Ben Kenobi, that he's crazy old wizard. And how much does Owen and how much does Brew as well know about everything? How much were they told?
Yeah.
When Obi-Wan hands Luke off to them, that's never completely fleshed out that I know of. And it's really interesting. Like maybe it could be a cool storyline. Like, okay, Obi-Wan gives them the kid. Like something happened to Anakin and Padme. It wasn't good. They're gone. We need you to raise them, please.
Yeah.
And they agree, but then he doesn't really tell them the whole story, the whole like Vader thing.
Yeah.
And then they come to like learn about it somehow. And they're like, dude, you left this kid with us.
That was a big part you left
Vader.
out.
you left that part out, man. What's the deal? So that's an interesting idea to toy with. I would be shocked if it was that tight of a timeline in terms of picking up from that moment where he hands baby Luke off. Maybe that image could be shown just as kind of like all right, get you in the right mindset for where this is going. But usually with all these stories, they're quite hesitant to pick up right off the back of something else.
Yeah.
You think it was so startling for The Last Jedi to do that because nothing in Star Wars had ever done that. It literally picks up, basically from the moment that The Force Awakens ends. And I think to some degree it hamstrung The Last Jedi a little bit doing that. As much as I am an advocate for that movie, and it's one of my most enjoyable ones, it maybe was hurt a bit by the fact that it basically was The Force Awakens Part 2 rather than its own movie in certain ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. It definitely, there's issues with starting something and picking up right where we left off, previously. The one time they did it was really effective was the second Darth Vader line, where we literally go from Vader saying no with Palpatine to what happens next. Vader has to go out. He has to find a Kyber crystal. He goes through all these trials. He fights an old Jedi master. Like, it's freaking epic. And it
in the comics, right?
In the comics, yeah.
And the comics do this a lot more. I think it's
exactly.
It's easier for them to do it. Yeah.
And I feel like we can do that here because one thing that I really loved, and we've been saying this for a while, and Brent feels the same way. Like, I want to see the turmoil that Obi-Wan is going through, and we saw that in the Vader line with Vader. We see him, approaching the Emperor, and he has a moment that he can, continue his destiny as the Emperor's, man, or he could destroy him. And we see a vision of his mind of him destroying the Emperor. And once he does that, he goes and visits Obi-Wan on Tatooine. And Obi-Wan's just like sitting on the side of this cliff or whatever, and Anakin walks up behind him and just says, "Master," and calls to him. And then that's the end of the scene. And it's freaking phenomenal. And it's a comic book. And that's why that comic line was so effective. And I love that they filled in that time and they showed the struggles Anakin was going, or Anakin and Vader were going through. And I would love to see that from, Obi-Wan's perspective. And does he have visions? I love that Brent said that, having visions of the future. Speaking of the comic book that we read, the main line, Luke had visions. Some of them, misinterpreted maybe. And I love that we could see Obi-Wan grappling with that and digging into the Force a little more, especially with maybe some Yoda interaction, because we know they're conversing, right? I mean, from a certain point of view, we know both of them have been chatting about who's, the chosen one. So not the chosen one, but who's ready to step up and save the galaxy, Luke or Leia. So they've been talking about it, and I feel like this could be ripe opportunity, especially when you have Ewan McGregor there. And let's show him age a little bit. Let's show him as that young Obi-Wan and how he's progressing and becoming even more of a hermit. But I would love to know how much influence is he having over Luke's upbringing? Are the Lars family, like Luke said, are they going to get shocked and be like, wait a second, you're saying that our family became Darth Vader and now you're bringing his son here? What the hell? And Obi-Wan's like, no, it's cool. I promise. If anything comes down, I'll chop his head off or something.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It's cool. Like, what? How are they going to process that? Or does Obi-Wan say it's too important, to share this even with his family? We're just going to say this is this is an abandoned child that you need to raise. Holly, what do you want out of this series?
I don't know, because I have learned with Star Wars to limit my expectations.
That's right.
Going into something new.
Speculate responsibly.
That's right.
That's right.
I really like Obi-Wan. I think that he's one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. So I think that I would be thrilled with it going whichever way, especially with Ewan McGregor being Obi-Wan. I feel like he knows, out of anybody else, he knows how to handle that character.
That's right.
So I don't really feel like, I don't know. I didn't really think about this the way that Brent phrased it.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure what we were going to get, but
Yeah.
I do like where we're going with this. So
Absolutely.
I think that there's a lot of different interesting takes that we can get.
Because we don't need to go off world, right? Like we don't need those adventures. I feel like there's so much drama and emotion packed in with these characters that we know and love. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily need to go out and slay monsters and the other thing is that Darth Vader line for me is so emotional at times, and how much Anakin is dealing with all of this. I feel like Obi-Wan is on the opposite side there dealing with it, and for him to just kind of be out, and I guess Anakin goes through some things. He fights a Jedi master, like he fights. There is conflict, but he's also dealing with what's going on the inside. And I feel like Ewan McGregor will do an amazing job with that. And I would love, even if it's a couple seasons, or no, this is one season, right?
Well, that's
what we've heard. It's 6 episodes.
But like Brent said, who knows? It could be very well received, and people want more.
That's true.
We are hungry fans.
That's true, but I'm going to be honest. This is one thing. I always want more Star Wars, but as fantastic as Obi-Wan is, he has dominated Star Wars for some time. So I think you got to cap this, and you got to tell us the most raw and emotional story of Obi-Wan and fill in that time, and then we move on with the story.
Well, because there has to be so much inner turmoil that we don't really get to see anyway, because Obi-Wan he's really lost everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have the Jedi Order anymore. He doesn't have his apprentice.
Yeah.
He doesn't have, like Brent said, is who he considers him his brother. He doesn't have him anymore.
Yeah.
We don't really see Obi-Wan, have any family or any close friends. Not that, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's we don't really know any of the relationships Obi-Wan has outside of him and Anakin and Qui-Gon, I guess.
And that's a great, and he's lost so many people, not to mention the whole council, all of the Jedi. And he's grappling with the mistakes the Jedi made too, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, and I just picture, he's struggling with this training that Yoda wants him to take on. What's the point? Because as hopeful as Obi-Wan seems when he meets up with Luke, I don't know. There's definitely some conflict in him and some mistrust and just, I don't know. I can picture, flashbacks of Anakin and I hate you, just tormenting him. And so I'm so looking forward to this. Cap it off at 6 episodes for me. Maybe you guys want more, but I really want an emotional Obi-Wan. I've been saying it for a while, but
working title, that phrase to me is more about what the actual show is about rather than production code name, which they haven't even started filming yet, would be kind of irrelevant at this point.
Yeah.
So I take it more as talking about likely what the theme of the show is.
Yeah.
And, pilgrim to me, you think of like a religious pilgrim, and going, when people take a religious pilgrimage, usually it's to a certain site about like the origin of their religion, or it's something very critical to their faith, their theology. So Brent brought up some Star Wars rhyming echoes in the Casual Council episode that I really enjoyed and got my mind thinking about more of those echoes and those rhymes. So I can see it mirroring what Luke is experiencing between Return of the Jedi and the sequel trilogy, where he is basically one of the only Jedi left, and he has to go and research the roots of what the Jedi are, what their theology is, what their practice was at its deepest core, to try to understand it and reforge and make a path forward. And basically, Obi-Wan and Yoda are kind of in the same boat at that point. If this is taking place, before the original trilogy, there's other Jedi floating out there that we have in extended canon and survivors of Order 66 and Ahsoka and all that. But really, there is no establishment Jedi Order remaining. So it's, okay, if this mega organization you're a part of is all of a sudden wiped off the map, and then you just dig into what was this organization about at its core, its origin, let me dig into understand and find that. So like him going off to some ancient Jedi site, something like that.
And I love that idea of not going off, fighting monsters and stuff, like maybe some of the legend stuff we kind of hear about, but really trying to understand what's my purpose now. If the Jedi didn't handle things well, what exactly should I do? Because he's a reasonable, Jedi, so to speak. He's dabbled in, not the dark side, but he's dabbled in things outside the Order, and he's turned a blind eye maybe to Anakin's issues. So he's more open to the understanding and things like that. But I'm looking at even maybe a different side, a different point of view, so to speak. What if he is, what really does he know about the Sith, right? He's encountered Maul at one point, and he lost his, he's fought Dooku and Anakin, but like, I bet he has questions. My brother, I've lost him. Do we think that Obi-Wan could even be thinking, how do I bring him back?
I think so.
At this point, Holly?
Yeah, I think so. I also think, like, kind of Luke got me thinking when he was talking about, like, pilgrimage to him. It could be that, like, also emotional or spiritual pilgrimage to think about things like that.
Yeah.
Where did the Jedi go wrong? Where did I go wrong? Is there a way for me to fix this?
Yeah.
And if so, I think that would entail him reaching back out to, Darth Vader, I guess now, to try to bring Anakin back, to try to turn him back, right?
Yeah. I'm okay with him going off world if we're going to get really deep in the philosophy of the Jedi and the Sith and what made Anakin turn. Like, you trained him so well, and this idea of the chosen one, he believed in it until the day he turned. You were the chosen one, and you were to bring balance to the Force and destroy the evil, and that didn't go out as he saw, planned. So is he still think right now that Anakin was the chosen one and all is lost? Or, Luke is their only hope then? But did he really believe that? Did he really believe Anakin was lost? It seems like he did in episode 4, but maybe something changed. Maybe he had a conversation with someone and understood the Sith a little better. And it really took, Luke, the love of his father and their family to really turn him. I don't know, but I would love for him to just gain a better understanding of all of it. Because I can imagine he's super confused, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure he doubts himself a lot now too. Like I wasn't ready for that responsibility, and there's a lot going on in the Clone Wars. There wasn't a lot of teaching opportunity there. And he's a little hot-headed kid, but like I feel like I'm second guessing myself. Am I even cut out for this?
But I feel like that is a common theme with Jedi that we see. We see bad things happen to them, and then we see them retreat.
Absolutely.
We see them, kind of become more recluse.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it with Yoda. We saw it.
Ultimate recluse. I mean, he's out there in the hills just kind of, woo!
But we saw it with Luke in the
Yeah.
most recent trilogy. And I mean, now I think we're going to possibly get the opportunity to dig in a little bit deeper and see it even more so with Obi-Wan.
Absolutely.
But I just feel like that's a common theme that we see.
Yeah. God, if we don't see Yoda also in this series, them conversing, come on.
Qui-Gon.
And Qui-Gon, these are opportunities to bring back these beloved characters, right?
sure.
Fill in this time. Let's see Qui-Gon. Let's see Yoda. How are they conversing? Is Obi-Wan going to have to go to that kind of mysterious, weird place from the Clone Wars that Yoda had to go to? I can't even remember what that was about, but it could get a little weird, but he has training to do. Yoda said that. Training for you I have in isolation or exile, whatever he calls it.